Most people do not lose conversations because they are wrong. They lose because they react too fast, explain too much, and hand over emotional control the moment pressure appears. That is the difference between the reactive person and the stoic responder. One rushes to defend, the other stays centered. The moment you answer emotion with emotion, you already gave away your power. And most people never realize how many arguments they could have ended with calm restraint instead of defense. That is the hidden cost of reacting too quickly. You stop guiding the conversation and start being guided by it. But there is a better way. These 5 responses can change the way people speak to you, test you, and remember you. And it starts with understanding the Stoic rule behind every powerful response. Stoic communication is not dominance, it is self-command. The goal is not to humiliate people, win every exchange, or destroy someone with a clever line. The goal is to stay composed, clear, and unshaken. Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus understood this well. True strength is not loud, dramatic, or emotional. It is calm and precise. Reaction belongs to the unstable mind. Control belongs to the disciplined one. Noise tries to overpower. Silence holds its ground. Impulse wants immediate release. Principle chooses the better outcome. That is why the right response begins before the words are spoken. It begins with the inner state behind them. If you keep trying to win with emotion, you stay trapped in battles that never needed to happen. And once that becomes clear, the first 2 responses become incredibly powerful. Because sometimes the smartest move is not to attack, it is to clarify and disarm. The first 2 responses are simple but powerful. What exactly do you mean? And I see it differently. These lines work because they force clarity. They slow the momentum. They remove the emotional bait. Most conflicts grow because people answer accusations instead of questioning them. They assume the attack is clear, they get defensive, and then the whole exchange turns into noise. But clarity breaks that pattern. Assumption creates tension. Clarity creates space. Reaction tries to survive the moment. Wisdom tries to understand it. When you ask for meaning, weak attacks often fall apart on their own. That is the hidden power here. Calm questions expose weak pressure. Most people never realize that asking for clarity is often stronger than trying to defend themselves. And once the pressure loses its grip, the next move is to set a line they cannot cross. The next 2 responses are, "That doesn't work for me," and "I'm not available for that." Simple, clean, final. These lines create boundaries without begging for approval, without over-explaining, and without inviting debate. That is the difference between approval and self-respect, weakness and inner command, performance and authenticity. People who respect themselves do not make their boundaries negotiable just to keep the peace. They do not soften every no until it becomes meaningless. They do not trade clarity for acceptance. The hidden cost of weak boundaries is a life where everyone gets access to you, your time, your energy, your peace. And if you keep saying yes to avoid discomfort, you stay stuck in other people's expectations. Real power begins when your words match your standards. And once that happens, silence itself becomes a response. Because sometimes the strongest answer is not more words, it is fewer. The final response is simple. I've said what needs to be said. Then stop. That silence is not weakness, it is control. Strategic silence can end manipulation, prevent spiraling, and force the other person to sit with the weight of what was already said. Noise tries to keep the fight alive. Silence lets the moment end. Chaos wants one more sentence, one more defense, one more emotional reaction. Peace knows when to stop. Psychologically, people often keep pressing only because they sense uncertainty. The moment that uncertainty disappears, the pressure loses power. That is why the last word is not always the strongest word. Sometimes the strongest move is refusal to continue. Most people never realize how powerful they become the moment they stop chasing closure from someone who came to provoke them. And the hidden cost of not knowing when to stop is emotional exhaustion. But even the best response only works if it is delivered with the right energy. These responses only work when they are delivered with calm tone, slow pace, and steady eye contact. No rushing, no over-explaining, no emotional spill, because the words matter less than the energy behind them. Performance tries to sound strong. Authenticity actually is strong. Impulse speaks to release tension. Discipline speaks to hold it. That is why these lines work best when they come from inner control, not ego, not revenge, not the need to prove anything. If you keep speaking from emotion, even your best words will sound weak. The real shift is not just what you say, it is who you are when you say it. And when that identity is in place, people start remembering your presence differently. Because a calm response does more than end one moment. It changes how people treat you moving forward. This is what changes when you speak from stoic control. You become harder to provoke, harder to pressure, and harder to manipulate. Weak people react quickly, strong people respond deliberately, and that changes your whole identity. You become calmer, more respected, less available to nonsense, and more difficult to rattle. You stop treating every conversation like a battle. You stop giving away your peace for the sake of being understood. That is the power of the Stoic communicator. Rare words, clear words, controlled words. Words that carry weight because they are not wasted. If this gave you clarity, reflect on which response you need most. Comment on the one that hit hardest, and continue into another video on Stoicism, boundaries, or emotional mastery.